Welcome to a moment of meditation. Let us read together these verses in Galatians chapter 5 that we have been meditating on over the past 9 sessions, beginning in verse 22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. Don't you find it puzzling that at the end of the 9 facets of the fruit of the Spirit, the Apostle Paul wrote, "Against such things there is no law"? Why would there be any law against something so beautiful, so noble? Unfortunately, in the Bible we see time and time again that people have imposed laws against doing good, even laws supposedly given by God, but were misinterpreted by religious leaders. Jesus Christ himself had encountered fierce opposition from some of the law enforcers. Listen to this account as recorded in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 3. Again he entered the synagogue, and a man was there with a withered hand. And they watched Jesus to see whether he would heal him on the Sabbath, so that they might accuse him. And he said to the man with the withered hand, "Come here." And he said to them, "Is it lawful on Sabbath to do good or to do harm, to save life or to kill?" But they were silent. And he looked around at them with anger, grieved at their hardness of heart, and said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He stretched it out, and his hand was restored. The Pharisees went out and immediately held counsel with the Herodians against him, how to destroy him. Here, Jesus just healed a man with a withered hand. We see in Jesus love, gentleness, kindness, and goodness, all God's beautiful characters that are also imparted by the Holy Spirit to his believers. Wouldn't you rejoice when you see a disabled person healed right in front of you? But only were the Pharisees disapproving of Jesus, they were even scheming to destroy him. Their reason? They decided that Jesus had violated the law, that no work should be done on Sabbath, the day of rest appointed by God. But I suspect there are other self-serving reasons under their indignation, such as jealousy of his healing power, as well as his authority in teaching. Here we read that Jesus was angry with them. Yes, anger is not ungodly if it is against evil and unrighteousness. Jesus was angry and grieved at their hardness of heart. These Pharisees were abusing God's law to prohibit doing good to bless people. But Jesus demonstrates that the fruit of the Spirit cannot be hindered by the misappropriation of law. We face these kinds of dilemma today too. The law may have granted permission of an oil company to build a pipeline across the land of the Native Americans, endangering their water supply. The residents protest and are being punished. Out of love and goodness, other citizens rally around the native residents to support them. By doing so, they may infringe the law. But there is no law against love and kindness and goodness. It gets complicated when politics and laws are involved today. It is important to exercise discernment. The Holy Spirit will guide us when we seek wisdom and courage from him. Here's another story from the Gospel of John chapter 12. We'll read from verse 1. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus therefore came to Bethany, where Lazarus was, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. So they gave a dinner for him there. Martha served, and Lazarus was one of those reclining with him at the table. Now you may remember that the story of Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead. That was in John chapter 11, the chapter before this one. Lazarus had 2 sisters. Martha was always hospitable and serving. Mary was quiet and contemplative. She enjoyed nothing more than sitting by Jesus and listening to his teaching. Now picking up from verse 3. Mary therefore took a pound of expensive ointment made from pure nard and anointed the feet of Jesus and wiped his feet with her hair. The house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. But Judas Iscariot, one of his disciples, he who was about to betray him, said, "Why was this ointment not sold for 300 denarii and given to the poor?" He said this not because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief, and having charge of the money bag, he used to help himself to what was put into it. Jesus said, "Leave her alone so that she may keep it for the day of my burial. The poor you always have with you, but you do not always have me." When the large crowd of the Jews learned that Jesus was there, they came, not only on account of him, but also to see Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. So the chief priests made plans to put Lazarus to death as well, because on account of him, many of the Jews were going away and believing in Jesus. Now, here's a wonderful dinner party. The hosts were hospitable, exercising kindness, goodness, and faithfulness. The guests, including Jesus and his disciples, were relaxed. There was joy, not just for Lazarus' resurrection, but also for the fellowship they all shared. Then Mary did something extravagant. Here we read, she took a pound of expensive ointment made from pure nard and anointed the feet of Jesus and wiped his feet with her hair. It was love. And she couldn't keep it to herself. She lavished him with the finest perfume and expressed her adoration for all to see. Well, there was protest from at least one person, Judas Iscariot, the disciple who would soon betray his teacher. He complained out loud, "Why this waste? The expense should be used to feed the poor." But John, who wrote the account, commented, "He said this not because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief, and having charge of the money bag, he used to help himself to what was put into it." What truly mattered was, what did Jesus think? Jesus knew Judas's motive, and he knew Mary's heart. Jesus said, "Leave her alone. The poor you always have with you, but you do not always have me." In other words, Jesus desires our expression of love and adoration. Like Mary, we can and should love the Lord with abandon and let him take first place in our lives whenever possible. To summarize, there is no law against pure love or any other facets of the fruit of the Spirit. The same Apostle John wrote in his first letter, 1 John chapter 4, these words, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. For fear has to do with punishment, and whoever fears has not been perfected in love. We love because he first loved us." We will conclude our series on the Holy Spirit with this hymn, "Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing." Dan Stokes will now lead us.
Come thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet, sung by flaming tongues above, praise praise his name, I'm fixed upon it, name of God's redeeming love. Hitherto thy love has blessed me, thou hast brought me to this place, and I know thy hand will bring me safely home by thy good grace. Jesus sought me when a stranger, wandering from the fold of God, he to rescue me from danger brought me to his precious blood. Oh, to grace, how great a debtor daily I'm constrained to be. Let thy goodness, like a fetter, blind my wandering heart to thee. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it, prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, oh, take and seal it for thy courts above. Amen.
Receive the benediction. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit you may abound in hope. Thanks be to God.